He thought he was trading up for a richer life, but he just checked into a hotel owned by the woman he left at the altar. I sat in the manager's office of the Sterling Grand Hotel, watching the security feed on a high-definition monitor. On screen 4, my ex-fiancé Liam was laughing. He was leaning over the check-in counter, sliding a credit card across the marble surface, his arm draped around a woman wearing enough diamonds to sink a small yacht. He had left me at the altar exactly 3 hours ago because he wanted a richer life. He thought he was upgrading. He had absolutely no idea that the Sterling and Sterling Grand Hotel was my last name, and he definitely didn't know that the woman he dumped, the broke kindergarten teacher, was currently holding the master key to the very suite he was booking for his honeymoon. Miss Sterling? The general manager, Mr. Henderson, shifted nervously beside me. They're asking for the presidential upgrade. Do we decline it? I smoothed the silk of my ruined wedding dress, watching Liam kiss the other woman's cheek on the screen. No, I said, a slow, cold smile spreading across my face. Approve it. Give them the best room in the house. Send up the champagne. I want him to feel like a king right before I take his crown. My name is Mia Sterling. I'm 24 years old, and this isn't just a breakup story. This is an eviction notice. But let's rewind. To understand why I'm about to ruin this man's life in my father's hotel, you need to understand the lie I lived for 2 years. A lie I told to protect myself from men exactly like Liam. My father is Thomas Sterling, the founder of Sterling Hospitality. I grew up in penthouses from Tokyo to Paris. I have a trust fund that could buy a small island. But I learned early that money attracts parasites. Men who look at you and see a bank account, not a person. So when I graduated, I went undercover. I became Mia, the kindergarten teacher. I drove a dented Honda Civic. I rented a walk-up apartment with leaky plumbing. I wanted to be loved for me, and I thought Liam did. Liam was a junior associate at a law firm, handsome, ambitious, and seemingly humble. When we met, he drove a used BMW and complained about student loans. He seemed real. For 2 years, we split bills. We saved coupons. When he proposed with a modest ring, I cried because I thought I'd found the one honest man in Seattle. I was an idiot. The red flags were there, I just painted them white. The way he sneered at my budget car. The way he obsessed over status. Don't you want more, Mia? He'd ask, looking around our tiny apartment. I'm destined for big things. I need a partner who fits that vision. Then, 3 months ago, he met Vanessa St. Clair, a client. 42 years old, flashy, loud, and excessively wealthy. Suddenly, Liam was working late every night. He started wearing a new Rolex he claimed was a bonus. He started smelling like Santal 33. I ignored it. I was busy planning a wedding I thought was real. This morning I stood in the church vestry adjusting my veil. The organ was playing, the guests were seated. My dad was waiting to walk me down the aisle. Then, my phone buzzed. I can't do it, Mia. I need a life you can't provide. Vanessa understands my ambition. She can give me the world. Don't make a scene. I didn't faint. I didn't scream. I just stared at the text. A life I can't provide. The irony was so sharp it almost cut me. I could buy and sell Vanessa St. Clair 3 times over before breakfast. Liam didn't even have the guts to face me. By the time I ran out the side door, his car was gone. But he made one fatal mistake. He forgot we shared locations on Find My Friends. I watched the little blue dot move away from the church onto the highway and straight downtown. It stopped at 1000 First Avenue. The Sterling Grand. Of all the hotels in Seattle, he picked mine. The flagship property my father built the year I was born. The staff there used to give me lollipops when I was a toddler. They know my face better than they know the layout of the fire exits. Dad, I said, turning to my father who was looking ready to murder someone. He's at the Grand.
Bring on the subwoof fonts. I'll have security throw him onto the pavement.
No, I said, wiping a single tear. He wants the high life? Let's give it to him. I want to see his face when he realizes who I really am. I got into the limo. Take me to the hotel, I told the driver. And don't stop for red lights. Which brings us back to now. The security room. On the screen, Liam and Vanessa were entering the elevator. Vanessa was laughing, waving her hand around, probably showing off the ring Liam had bought with credit card debt. They're heading to the 40th floor, Mr. Henderson said quietly. Room 4001. The royal suite. 100% perfect, I said. Put me in 4002. Henderson blinked. The adjoining room? Miss Sterling, are you sure? Positive, I said. And Henderson, cut their Wi-Fi and disable the room service tablet. I want them to have to call the front desk for everything. Consider it done. I stood up. The heavy silk of my wedding gown was suffocating, but I wasn't taking it off. Not yet. I wanted him to see me in it. I wanted him to see exactly what he threw away. We turned spokes the optics the burrows and opened into the back hallway of the 40th floor. It was quiet up here. The carpet was thick, muffling my footsteps. I walked past the Art Deco sconces, past the fresh orchids, straight to room 4002. I swiped the master key. Green light. I slipped inside. The room was dark, but the connecting door to 4001 Liam's suite was right there. I could hear them. The walls are soundproof, but the connecting doors are thin if you stand close enough. This view is insane, babe, Liam's voice drifted through. This is what I'm talking about. No more mediocrity. No more clipping coupons with Mia. She was dragging you down, honey. Vanessa's voice was like nails on a chalkboard. You're a star. You belong here. I do, Liam said. I really do. I felt a surge of rage so hot it almost burned. Mediocrity. He called my love mediocrity. I walked over to the minibar in my room. I grabbed a bottle of water, cracked it open, and took a sip. Then I looked at the connecting door. I didn't just want to embarrass him. I wanted to dismantle him. I wanted to strip away the arrogance layer by layer until there was nothing left but the sad, greedy little man he really was. Before I unlock this door and crash his honeymoon, I have a question for you. If you're enjoying this story, please hit that subscribe button. It helps the channel growing. And let me know in the comments. Would you confront him immediately, or would you play with your food first? I chose to play. I pulled out my phone. I still had access to his Spotify account. He used it for mood music. I saw he was currently playing a jazz playlist on the hotel speakers in his room. I paused it. Through the door, I heard Liam say, "What the hell?" The music stopped. "Probably just the Wi-Fi," Vanessa said. "Use your data." I switched the playlist. I selected a song, a very specific song, Gold Digger by Kanye West, and I turned the volume all the way up. The bass thumped through the wall. "What is that?" Liam shouted. "My phone isn't doing that. It's locked." "Turn it off," Vanessa yelled. I let it play for 10 seconds. Then I paused it again. "Must be a glitch," Liam muttered, sounding shaken. "Or a sign," I whispered to myself. I doinked. I walked to the connecting door. I turned the lock on my side. Then, slowly, silently, I depressed the handle. It wasn't deadbolted on his side. He was too arrogant to lock it. So I pushed the door open just a crack. Liam was standing by the window, back to me, pouring champagne. Vanessa was in the bathroom. "Babe," Liam called out, "this champagne is cheap. It says compliments of the owner, cheapskates." I pushed the door open fully. My wedding dress filled the frame. "Actually," I said, my voice cutting through the room like a blade, "I picked that bottle myself. It seemed appropriate for the occasion." Liam spun around. The glass slipped from his hand and shattered on the floor. "Mia," he choked out. He looked like he was seeing a ghost. How did you find me? What are you doing here? You can't be here. This is a 5-star hotel. You can't afford to be on this floor." I stepped into the room, crushing the broken glass under my heel. "Oh, Liam," I smiled, and it wasn't a nice smile. "I don't need to afford it. I own it." He thought he could talk his way back into my bank account, but he forgot I had already canceled his subscription. You know that specific sound a glass makes when it hits a marble floor? That sharp, expensive crash? It was the only sound in the royal suite for 10 long seconds. Liam stared at me, his mouth slightly open, looking from my face to the broken champagne flute at his feet. Then he started to laugh. It wasn't a nervous laugh. It was a condescending, pitying chuckle. The kind you give a child who just claimed they can fly. "You own it." Liam shook his head, looking at Vanessa. "Babe, I told you she was unstable. She snapped. The rejection was too much for her." He stepped toward me, stepping over the broken glass with his bare feet. "Mia, look at yourself. You're wearing a wedding dress in a stranger's hotel room. You're hysterical. You don't own this hotel. You can barely afford your share of the rent on our apartment. Please, just leave before I have to embarrass you further by calling security. Vanessa emerged from the bathroom, wrapping a silk robe around herself. She looked me up and down with a sneer that probably cost more than my car. Is this her? She asked Liam, sounding bored. The school teacher. Honey, you really need to work on your taste in women. She looks like a drowned rat in polyester. My dress was Vera Wang, custom fitted, costing $12,000. But I didn't correct her. I just stood there, leaning against the doorframe, watching them. You think I'm crazy? I said softly. I think you're delusional, Liam said, checking his watch. The Rolex he bought with his bonus last month. Sterling Grand Hotel. Sterling. As in Thomas Sterling, the billionaire. Your dad's name is Tom, and he lives in a 2-bedroom condo in Ballard. Do the math, Mia. You're not an heiress. You're a stalker. Tom is short for Thomas, I said, and he lives in Ballard because he likes the view of the marina, not because he has to. Okay, that's enough, Vanessa snapped. She walked over to the wall phone. I'm calling the front desk. This is harassment. I'm going to have you arrested. Go ahead, I said, gesturing to the phone. Call them. Vanessa picked up the receiver. She stabbed the button for the front desk. She waited. And waited. It's dead, she muttered, tapping the hook. The line is dead. I know, I said. I had them cut it, along with the Wi-Fi and the room service tablet. It's a little trick we use for non-paying guests, or guests we just don't like. Liam narrowed his eyes. You cut the lines? How? Did you sabotage the junction box in the hall? You are psychotic. I sighed. This was getting tedious. I walked over to the desk in the corner of the room. There was a fancy intercom system there, the one reserved for VIPs to call the concierge directly. It ran on a separate internal network. I pressed the button. Yes, Royal Suite. The voice of Mr. Henderson, the general manager, came through instantly, crisp, professional, deferential. Henderson, I said, not taking my eyes off Liam. I'm in 4001. The guests seemed to be confused about the ownership structure of the property. Could you come up and clarify something for me? Of course, Miss Sterling, Henderson replied. I'm on my way. Liam froze. He heard it. Miss Sterling. Not Mrs. Davis. Not ma'am. Miss Sterling. The way staff addresses the owner's daughter. He thinks you're someone else. Liam stammered, but the color was draining from his face. You probably tricked him. You're impersonating someone. Sit down, Liam. I pointed to the velvet sofa.
Not sitting down.
Sit down, I barked. It was my teacher voice, the one I use when a 5-year-old is about to stick a fork in an electrical socket. It works on 30-year-old narcissists, too. Liam sat. Vanessa remained standing, crossing her arms, looking unsure for the first time. 2 minutes later, there was a knock at the door. I opened it. Mr. Henderson stood there, flanked by 2 large security guards. He looked at me, then at Liam cowering on the sofa. Good evening, Miss Sterling, Henderson said, bowing his head slightly. Is everything all right? Do you need these individuals removed? Liam stood up, pointing a shaking finger at Henderson. Why are you calling her that? She's a kindergarten teacher. Her dad is a nobody. Henderson looked at Liam with the kind of icy disdain that only British hotel managers can master. Mr. Davis, Henderson said smoothly, you are speaking to Mia Sterling, the sole heiress to the Sterling Hospitality Group. Her father is Thomas Sterling, the founder of this hotel and 40 others like it across the globe. We have known Miss Sterling since she was in pigtails running through this lobby. Now I suggest you lower your voice. The silence that followed was heavy. It was thick. You could have cut it with a knife. Liam looked at me. Then he looked at the room. The opulent chandelier, the gold leaf molding, the view of the Seattle skyline. He looked at it all with new eyes. He wasn't looking at a hotel room anymore. He was looking at my living room. No, he whispered, that's impossible. We lived in a walk-up. You drove a Civic. You clipped coupons for pasta sauce. I like pasta, I shrugged, and I hate waste. Just because I have money doesn't mean I have to burn it. Unlike you. But why he looked like his brain was short-circuiting? Why would you lie? To avoid this, I gestured to him. To avoid men who look at me and see a lottery ticket, I wanted to know if you loved me. Just Mia, the girl who likes painting and bad reality TV, and for 2 years I thought you did. I walked closer to him. He smelled of fear now. The expensive cologne couldn't hide it. I was going to tell you tonight, I said softly. At the reception, my dad was going to announce it during the toast. He was going to give us the keys to a house in Queen Anne as a wedding gift. Paid in full, $250 million. He was going to offer you a position in the company's legal department. Starting salary, $400K. Liam's jaw actually dropped. I could see the greed warring with the regret in his eyes. He was doing the math. He was calculating exactly how much money he had just walked away from. And you left me, I continued, my voice hardening, via text message, for her. I looked at Vanessa. She wasn't sneering anymore. She was looking at Liam with suspicion. Wait, Vanessa said. He told me you were destitute. He said he was paying for everything. He said you were a financial drain. I paid half the rent every month, I corrected, and I have a trust fund that generates more interest in a week than he makes in a year. But sure, I was the drain. Liam. Vanessa looked at him. Is that true? Liam didn't answer her. He was looking at me with a desperate, pathetic hope. He stood up and took a step toward me. Mia, he said, his voice trembling. Babe, wait. This is a lot to process. But don't you see? This changes things. Does it? I asked. Of course. He laughed nervously, running a hand through his hair. I was scared. I left because I was scared of the financial pressure. I wanted to give you a good life, and I felt like a failure because I couldn't. I didn't leave because I didn't love you. I left because I thought I wasn't good enough for you. It was an impressive pivot, truly. He was trying to rewrite history in real time. He was trying to frame his gold-digging abandonment as an act of noble self-sacrifice. So, he stepped closer, reaching for my hand. If I had known we were secure, I never would have panicked. We can fix this, Mia. We can go back to the church. The guests are probably still there. We can explain it was just cold feet. He actually thought he could fix this. He thought he could just slide back into my life now that he knew the price tag attached to it. I looked at his hand, the hand that had texted me, I can't do this 3 hours ago. Before I tell you what I did next, before I tell you how I dismantled his entire career in front of his new sugar mama, if you're loving this takedown, please hit that like button. It really supports the channel. And tell me in the comments, have you ever had an ex try to crawl back when they realized you were doing better without them? I didn't take his hand. I stepped back. Mr. Henderson, I said, turning to the manager, does Mr. Davis have a reservation for tonight? Technically, yes, Henderson said, under the name Liam Davis. And what is the rate for the Royal Suite? But more the episode of the Cambridge on the separate down voice at simple 500 a night, plus tax. And did his credit card clear? No, Miss Sterling, it was declined. Insufficient funds. I turned back to Liam. You're broke, Liam. You maxed out your cards buying those suits to impress her. You thought you could check in here, live like a king, and let Vanessa pick up the tab later. But here's the problem. I walked over to the desk and picked up a piece of paper Henderson had brought in. This is the hotel policy, I read. Any guest whose primary payment method fails must provide an alternative immediately or be escorted off the premises. And since I am the owner, I am exercising my right to refuse service. Vanessa paid. Liam pointed at her. Her card is on file. Actually, I smiled. I voided that transaction. System error. Oops. I looked at Vanessa. If you want to stay, you'll need to reswipe. But I should warn you, the rate just went up. Up? Vanessa asked. Surge pricing, I said innocently. For this specific room, for tonight, the rate is now $50,000. Hey, that's illegal, Liam shouted. It's capitalism, I said. Supply and demand. I supply the room. I demand you get out. Vanessa Liam turned to her pleading. Just pay it. I'll pay you back. Once we sue her for emotional distress, just pay it so we can stay. Vanessa looked at Liam. Then she looked at me. She looked at the wedding dress. She looked at the security guards. And then Vanessa St. Clair did something I didn't expect. She started laughing. I thought I had taken out the trash, but I just found the dumpster where he hid the bodies. Vanessa's laughter wasn't the sound of joy. It was the sharp, jagged sound of a guillotine blade dropping. She laughed until she had to wipe a tear from her perfectly mascaraed eye. Then she looked at Liam with an expression that transformed from affection to absolute disgust in a nanosecond. You idiot, she said, shaking her head. You absolute monumental idiot. Vanessa Liam looked between us, panic rising in his chest like bile. Babe, don't listen to her. She's twisting things. Just pay for the room so we can stay, and I'll explain everything later. Explain what? Vanessa asked, stepping away from him. Explain how you lied to me. You told me she was a leech. You told me you were supporting her. You played the victim so well, Liam. Oh, poor me, carrying the weight of a deadbeat girlfriend. But the truth is, she was the one with the money all along. She turned to me, her eyes assessing my dress, my posture, the way the hotel manager stood deferentially behind me. You really own this place? She asked. Sterling Hospitality Group, I confirmed. My father is the chairman. I'm the largest shareholder after him. Vanessa nodded slowly, and he didn't know if he thought I was a kindergarten teacher living paycheck to paycheck. So Vanessa turned back to Liam. You left a secret heiress for me because you thought I was the upgrade. Do you have any idea how pathetic that makes you look? I chose you because I love you, Liam shouted, his voice cracking. It wasn't about the money. It's always about the money with men like you, Vanessa snapped. She walked over to the closet and grabbed her Louis Vuitton bag. You know, I was suspicious when your credit card got declined at dinner last week. You said it was a fraud alert. And then today, at check-in, you forgot your wallet in the car. You're not a successful lawyer, are you, Liam? You're a broke associate looking for a sugar mama. Vanessa, please. Liam grabbed her arm. She shook him off violently. Don't touch me. I don't date projects. And I certainly don't date failures who get dumped by billionaires. She looked at me. Miss Sterling, I apologize for the intrusion. I had no idea. Consider me checked out. You're free to go, I said calmly. Security will escort you to the valet. Vanessa walked out the door without looking back. She didn't even say goodbye to him. She just stepped over the broken champagne glass and vanished into the hallway, taking Liam's richer life with her. Now it was just me, Liam, Henderson, and 2 security guards who looked like they were itching to earn their holiday bonuses. Liam stood in the middle of the room, looking at the empty doorway where his future had just walked out. Then he looked at me. His face crumpled. The arrogance was gone, replaced by a raw, naked terror. Mia, he whispered. She left me. No, I guess she did, I agreed. Looks like you're 0 for 2 today. I have nowhere to go, he said, his voice trembling. I gave up my apartment lease yesterday because I thought I was moving in with her. My car is a lease that expires next week. Mia, I have nothing. He dropped to his knees. Actually dropped to his knees on the plush carpet of the royal suite. It was a scene straight out of a soap opera, but the tears streaming down his face were real. Please, he begged, reaching for the hem of my wedding dress. I made a mistake. A huge mistake. I was blinded by the flash, by the idea of an easier life. But you know me. You know who I really am. We had 2 years, Mia. 2 years of real love. Doesn't that mean anything? I looked down at him. I looked at the man I had almost promised to obey and cherish until death parted us. It means everything, I said softly. Hope sparked in his eyes. Yes! Yes, it does. We can rebuild. I'll sign a prenup. I don't want your money. I just want you. Please, Mia, give me a second chance. I leaned down, bringing my face close to his. Look for? It means everything, I repeated, because it showed me exactly who you are. You're a parasite, Liam. And you know what we do with parasites in the hotel business? I stood up straight and looked at the guards. I pointed to the door. Get him out of my hotel. No, Liam scrambled back as the guards moved in. You can't do this. I have rights. I'm a guest. You're a trespasser, Henderson corrected, checking his clipboard. Since the payment for the room was voided and the primary guestman, St. Clair, has departed, you have no valid reservation. And since the owner has personally barred you from the premises, you're trespassing. The guards grabbed him, one by each arm. They weren't gentle. Mia Liam screamed as they dragged him toward the door. You can't leave me like this. I'm wearing a bathrobe. My clothes are in the car. Actually, I said, walking over to the wardrobe where he had hung his suit, the tuxedo he had worn to leave me at the altar. You can keep the robe. Consider it a parting gift. But this, I grabbed the tuxedo jacket, stays. That's my rental, he shrieked. I have to return it by 5 p.m. or I lose the deposit. Better hurry then, I said. I threw the jacket onto the balcony. It fluttered in the wind for a second before drifting down 40 stories down to the street below. "Get him out," I ordered. They dragged him down the hallway. He was kicking and screaming, shouting my name, shouting about lawsuits, shouting about how much he loved me. I stood in the doorway of the royal suite and watched him disappear into the service elevator. When the doors closed, silence returned to the hallway. Mr. Henderson looked at me. "Shall I have housekeeping clean the room, Miss Sterling?" "Burn the sheets," I said. "And Henderson? Make sure the cameras in the lobby are recording. I want to see him hit the pavement." "Already done, miss." I walked back into the suite and went to the balcony. I looked down. Far below, on the busy sidewalk of First Avenue, I could see a tiny commotion. Security was depositing a man in a white hotel bathrobe onto the street. Passers-by were stopping. Phones were coming out. I pulled out my own phone. I had one more call to make. You see, Liam wasn't just broke and homeless. He was also a lawyer, a junior associate at Pearson Inspector. And guess who one of their biggest clients was? Sterling Hospitality Group. My father spent about $2 million a year in legal retainers with that firm. And Liam had just left the chairman's daughter at the altar to chase another client. I dialed the number for the senior partner, Arthur Pearson. He had been at the wedding. He had seen Liam walk out. He was probably wondering if he was going to lose the Sterling account. "Hello." Arthur's voice was tense. "Hi, Arthur," I said, watching the tiny figure of Liam arguing with a doorman 40 floors below. "It's Mia Sterling." "Mia! My God, we were all so shocked. Are you okay? Is there anything we can do?" "Actually, Arthur, there is," I said. "I'm looking at my fiancé's employment contract, or rather, my ex-fiancé's contract." I see," Arthur stammered. "Mia, what he did was personal, but strictly speaking, his employment is—" "Strictly speaking," I interrupted. "He just attempted to defraud a client, Vanessa St. Clair, by using her credit card without authorization at my hotel, and he caused a significant public disturbance on Sterling property. Now, I know my father values your firm's services, Arthur, but I'm taking a more active role in the company now, and I would hate to have to review our legal representation." There was a pause, a very expensive pause. "I understand," Arthur said, his voice turning crisp. "Behavior that reflects poorly on the firm cannot be tolerated. We have a morality clause for a reason." "I thought you might," I said. "He's currently on the sidewalk outside the Sterling Grand, in a bathrobe. You might want to send a courier for his badge." "It's done," Arthur said. "He's fired, effective immediately." "Thank you, Arthur. Give my best to your wife." I hung up. I stood on the balcony, the wind whipping my veil around me. I had lost a fiancé, but I had reclaimed my life. I had taken his home, his relationship, and his job in the span of an hour. But as I watched him down there, looking small and insignificant, I realized something. I wasn't done. Because Liam wasn't just a bad boyfriend. He was a symptom of a larger problem. He had mentioned something in the room, that he had maxed out his cards to impress Vanessa. He had been living a double life for months, and if I knew Liam, he left a paper trail. I walked back into the suite. His phone, the one he had been using to block me, was sitting on the coffee table. In the chaos of being dragged out, he had left it behind. I picked it up. It was locked, but I knew the passcode. It was 0415. Our anniversary, or what used to be our anniversary. I typed it in, it unlocked. I opened his email, I opened his texts, and what I found there made his betrayal with Vanessa look like a playground crush. Liam wasn't just a cheater, he was a thief. And he hadn't just been stealing from me emotionally, he had been stealing from everyone. Before I reveal the secret that would turn this from a breakup into a federal investigation, if you are cheering for this level of petty, please check if you are subscribed. You don't want to miss what happens when the FBI gets involved. I saw an email chain with the subject line, Sterling Trust Access Codes. It was dated 2 weeks ago. Liam hadn't just been trying to marry me, he had been trying to hack my family's trust fund, and he had a partner on the inside. I read the name of the sender. My blood ran cold. It wasn't Vanessa. It wasn't a stranger. It was the one person I had cried on today, the one person who had handed me tissues in the limo. My maid of honor. I had cleaned house, but there was one stain left on the carpet, the woman who thought she was too rich to be touched. Betrayal has a taste. It tastes like the cheap, sugary fondant on a wedding cake you never got to cut. But the betrayal of a fiancé is one thing you expect men to be weak. The betrayal of a best friend? That tastes like metal, like blood in your mouth. I sat on the velvet sofa of the royal suite, staring at Liam's unlocked phone. The email chain was titled Project Robin Hood. Cute. They thought they were stealing from the rich to give to the greedy. The sender was Chloe Bennett, my maid of honor, my college roommate, the girl who held my hair back when I had food poisoning in Cancun, the girl who helped me pick out this dress. Chloe, I got the 2FA code off her phone while she was trying on the veil. The routing number for the main trust is 091000. Liam, got it. Once we're married, I gain signatory power. We transfer the funds to the offshore account, divorce her in 6 months, and split the pot. They weren't just planning to leave me, they were planning to bleed me dry first. Liam leaving me at the altar wasn't part of the original plan. Vanessa was the variable they hadn't accounted for. Liam got greedy and impatient. He thought Vanessa was a quicker payout than waiting 6 months to rob me. His stupidity saved my fortune. But it didn't save my heart from breaking all over again. I wiped a tear, an angry hot tear, and stood up. I walked to the minibar and poured a glass of water. My hand was shaking, but my mind was ice cold. I needed to see her. I needed to look her in the eye when she realized she was caught. I picked up my own phone and texted Chloe. Mia, he left me. I'm at the Sterling Grand. Please come. I don't know what to do. The response was immediate. Chloe. Oh my God, Mia, I'm on my way. Hold on, sweetie, I'm bringing wine. She sounded so concerned, so loving. It made me want to scream. 20 minutes later, there was a knock at the door. I checked the peephole. Chloe was standing there, still in her lavender bridesmaid dress, clutching a bottle of Pinot Grigio and a box of tissues. She looked frantic with worry. It was an Oscar-worthy performance. I opened the door. Mia! She practically threw herself at me, wrapping me in a hug that smelled of expensive hairspray and deceit. I can't believe he did this. That scumbag. I knew he wasn't good enough for you. I stood stiff in her arms. You knew? Well, I had a bad feeling. She pulled back, her eyes wide and earnest. But I wanted you to be happy. Come sit down. Drink this. She poured the wine into 2 crystal glasses. She looked around the suite, her eyes lingering greedily on the chandeliers, the view, the luxury. Wow, she said. Your dad really went all out for the pity party, huh? This place is insane. It's the royal suite, I said, sitting on the edge of the sofa. It's where I was supposed to spend my wedding night. Well, it's better than that cramped apartment you guys had, Chloe said, taking a large sip of wine. At least now you can stop pretending to be poor, right? Silver lining? There it was. The jealousy. It always leaked out like sewage from a cracked pipe. Chloe, I said, keeping my voice level. Why did Liam leave? Because he's an idiot, Chloe said quickly. Because he met that old hag Vanessa and saw dollar signs. He didn't deserve you, Mia. He didn't, I agreed, but he seemed pretty confident about his finances for a guy with student loans, almost like he was expecting a windfall. Chloe froze mid-sip. What do you mean? I picked up Liam's phone from the cushion beside me. He left his phone here when security dragged him out. And you know Liam. He never deletes anything. Television. I turned the screen around to face her. The email chain, Project Robin Hood, was open. Chloe stared at it. The color drained from her face so fast she looked like a corpse in lavender chiffon. Mia, she stammered. I can explain. That's not what it looks like. Really, I scrolled down. Get the 2FA code while she's trying on the veil. That looks exactly like grand larceny and conspiracy to commit fraud. Tell me, Chloe, was the friendship fake too, or did you just decide to monetize it? Chloe set the wine glass down. Her hand was trembling, splashing wine onto the white carpet. You have everything, she whispered. Her voice wasn't sweet anymore, it was venomous. You have everything, Mia. The name, the money, the looks. You played poor for 2 years like it was a fun little game. Oh, look at me, I drive a Honda, I'm so relatable. It was insulting. I actually drive a Honda. I actually struggle to pay rent. So you decided to rob me? I deserved a cut, she shouted, standing up. I listened to your drama for 4 years. I held your hand. I was your emotional support animal. And what did I get? A bridesmaid dress I had to pay for and a thank you card? Liam offered me $1 million. Do you know what I could do with $1 million? I know what you can't do with it, I said. You can't buy integrity. Oh, screw your integrity, Chloe spat. You're just a spoiled little rich girl who got lucky in the birth lottery. You don't know what it's like to want things you can't have. You're right, I said, standing up to face her. I don't, but I know what it's like to lose things, like a fiancé and a best friend. Chloe laughed, a harsh, ugly sound. So what are you going to do, sue me? Your dad's lawyers will bury me, sure, but I'll drag your name through the mud first. I'll tell the press everything. How you lied to Liam, how you tricked everyone. You can tell the press whatever you want, I said calmly, but you'll have to use your one phone call to do it. Chloe frowned. What? I looked toward the bedroom door. You can come out now. The bedroom door opened. 2 uniformed police officers stepped out. Behind them was my father, looking grim. Ames Bennett, the first officer said. We heard everything, and we have the digital evidence from Mr. Davis's phone. You're under arrest for conspiracy to commit wire fraud and attempted grand theft. Chloe looked at the cops, then she looked at me. The defiance vanished. She looked small, scared. Mia, she whimpered. Mia, please. I was drunk when I wrote those emails. It was a joke. Liam put me up to it. He pressured me. Save it for the judge, my father said, stepping forward. His voice was low and terrifying. You tried to steal from my daughter in my house. You're lucky I'm letting the police handle this. The officers moved in. They handcuffed her. The metal clicked shut, the same sound as the closing of a chapter. Mia, Chloe screamed as they walked her to the door. You can't do this. We're best friends. I'm your maid of honor. You were, I said. Now you're just a witness against Liam. They took her away. The door closed. My dad walked over and put an arm around me. I'm sorry, Pumpkin. I never liked her. I know, Dad. I leaned into him. You warned me. Are you okay? He asked. No, I said honestly, but I will be. I looked at the empty room, the broken glass, the spilled wine, the silence. My wedding day. It was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. Instead, it was a crime scene. Hedda said, I don't want to stay here tonight. I don't want to be in the hotel.
Where do you want to go?
I want to go to the office, I said. The headquarters. Now, my dad checked his watch. It's 8 p.m. on your wedding day. I'm not a bride anymore, I said, wiping my face and standing up straight. And I'm done playing schoolteacher. Liam said he wanted a woman with ambition. He said he wanted a richer life. I walked to the mirror and looked at myself. The wedding dress was beautiful, but it was a costume for a girl who believed in fairy tales. I'm going to take over the company, Dad, I said. I want my seat on the board, and I want to make sure that people like Liam and Vanessa and Chloe never get near our assets again. My dad smiled. It was the first time he'd smiled all day. That's my girl, he said. Let's go to work. But there was one loose end. One person who had escaped the carnage. Vanessa St. Clair. She had walked out of the hotel. She thought she was safe. She thought she had just dodged a bullet by dumping Liam, but she had insulted me. She had trespassed in my suite, and she had tried to pay for it with a card that she used to fund her lavish lifestyle, a lifestyle I suspected wasn't as legitimate as she pretended. I picked up Liam's phone one last time. I found a folder in his Photos app hidden under Calculator. It contained screenshots, financial documents, not mine, hers. Liam had been digging dirt on everyone, even his new sugar mama. Dad, I said, holding up the phone. Before we go to the office, do we still have that contact at the IRS? The one who owes you a favor? My dad raised an eyebrow. Yes. Why? Because I smiled. I think Miss St. Clair has been forgetting to declare her offshore income. And since I'm in a sharing mood, they say revenge is a dish best served cold, but I found out it tastes a lot like a glitter bomb and a federal indictment. Revenge is a dish best served cold, but justice? Justice is best served by the IRS. I stood in my father's office, watching the rain streak against the floor-to-ceiling windows of the Sterling Tower. It had been 3 months since the wedding that wasn't. 3 months since I traded my Vera Wang gown for an Armani power suit. My dad was on the phone, listening intently. He hung up and looked at me with a grin that matched mine. That was Agent Miller, he said. They just raided Vanessa St. Clair's penthouse. Turns out her estate planning business was actually a front for laundering money for offshore gambling sites. Liam's screenshots were the missing piece of the puzzle. And the tax evasion, I asked, sipping my espresso. Oh, it's massive, Dad chuckled. She owes the government about $4 million in back taxes. They seized her assets this morning. The Bentley, the diamonds, the condo. She's broke, Mia. Actually broke, not teacher broke. I nodded, feeling a deep sense of completion. Vanessa had called me a drowned rat. She had looked down on me because she thought she was untouchable. Now she was going to prison, courtesy of the man she tried to steal. It was poetic. What about Liam? Dad asked, his voice hardening slightly. Security reported he tried to enter the lobby of the Grand again yesterday. I know, I said. Henderson handled it. Liam hadn't given up easily. After being fired from his law firm and evicted from his apartment because he couldn't pay the rent without my half, he had spiraled. He tried to sue us for wrongful eviction from the hotel, a case that was thrown out of court in 5 minutes. Then he tried to sue for the return of the engagement ring. I had mailed the ring back to him in an envelope filled with glitter. Petty? Yes, but he needed the pawn shop money more than I needed the memory. Last I heard, he was working as a paralegal for a strip mall lawyer in Tacoma, handling traffic tickets. He lives in a studio apartment above a laundromat. He texts me sometimes from burner numbers. I miss you. I messed up. Can we just talk? I never reply. Silence is the loudest answer I can give him. You have the board meeting in 10 minutes, Dad said, checking his watch. You ready to take your seat? I was born ready, I said. I walked out of the office and down the hallway toward the boardroom. I wasn't Mia the teacher anymore. I wasn't the girl who hid her light under a bushel to make a man feel secure. I was Mia Sterling, Director of Operations. I walked into the boardroom. 12 men in expensive suits turned to look at me. 3 months ago, I would have been intimidated. I would have offered to get them coffee. Today I walked to the head of the table, right next to my father's chair. Good morning, gentlemen, I said, placing my tablet on the mahogany surface. Let's talk about the Q4 expansion strategy. As the meeting went on, I caught a glimpse of myself in the glass reflection. I looked different, stronger. The softness was still there. I still loved kids. I still donated to my old school. But the naivety was gone. Liam had done me a favor. He broke my heart, yes. But he also broke the illusion that I needed to be small to be loved. He taught me that anyone who is intimidated by my success doesn't deserve to share it. After the meeting, I drove to the Sterling Grand. I parked my new car, an Aston Martin, because why not, in the owner's spot. I walked through the lobby. Mr. Henderson nodded to me. Good afternoon, Miss Sterling. And afternoon, Henderson. I took the elevator up to the 40th floor, the Royal Suite. I hadn't been back inside since that night. I unlocked the door and stepped in. The room had been cleaned, sanitized, restored to perfection. There was no sign of the broken champagne glass, no sign of Liam's rental tuxedo, no sign of Chloe's spilled wine. It was just a room, beautiful, expensive, and empty. I walked to the balcony and looked out over the city. Seattle was gray and rainy, just how I liked it. Somewhere out there, Liam was sitting in traffic, probably blaming the world for his bad luck. Somewhere out there, Chloe was waiting for her trial date, realizing that best friends don't steal 6 figures from each other. Somewhere out there, Vanessa was learning that orange isn't really her color. And here I was, standing on top of the world. My phone buzzed. It was a text from a guy I met last week, a pediatric surgeon. He drove a Volvo. He didn't care about my last name, he just wanted to know if I liked Thai food. Dinner tonight? I know a great hole-in-the-wall place. Cheap, but amazing. I smiled. I love cheap places, I typed back. Pick me up at 7. I put the phone away and took one last look at the view. They say living well is the best revenge. I disagree. Living authentically is the best revenge. Liam wanted a richer life. He wanted the appearance of wealth without the substance of character. He chased the glitter and lost the gold. I turned around and walked out of the suite, closing the door firmly behind me. I didn't lock it. I didn't need to, hiding anymore. I took the elevator down to the lobby, my heels clicking rhythmically on the marble floor. I walked past the spot where Liam had been dragged out screaming. I didn't look down. I looked forward. My name is Mia Sterling. I own this hotel. I own my life. And for the first time in a long time, I am exactly where I'm supposed to be. If you enjoyed this story of justice served, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. And tell me in the comments what's the best revenge you've ever gotten on an ex. I read every single one. Thanks for watching.